Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful brand new day, and welcome to Earth's Ascension with Carl and Ortrune Franklin. Good morning, Franklins.
Good morning. Good to be with you and with everyone else there.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be in your presence. I hope this is a meaningful morning to you.
Right. So, with that being said, Carl, what is it you have on your mind this morning?
Okay.
No, what the topic is for this
I
morning
want
is Earth, humanity, and our sister solar systems.
Earth's humanity and our sister solar systems, and I want to expand on that even and look at the big ascension picture of which the Earth is playing a central role and in which the light workers are playing a central role. So what we're involved in is just, it's hard for me to even imagine. It is so gigantic in scope. And it isn't just the Earth that's ascending. The Earth was picked to play a key role in the ascension of our entire galaxy and universe. And the creator of our universe has learned all that it feels it wants to learn from the dark energies, or from what we would refer to as the duality. And he doesn't want to get rid of duality completely because it's such a wonderful, wonderful teacher. But he wants to cut it back by about 80%. So that means that 80% of what is now dark needs to be transformed to light. And the Earth has been controlled by dark forces for such a long period of time. They've even modified our DNA, and we were, well, if they can transform this planet to light, then it's going to work. The method that they've designed will work virtually on any other planet. So we're kind of the test planet. We're part of a huge experiment that if it is successful, and right now the chances are about 99.9% that it's going to succeed, then what is learned here will then be utilized in other third-dimensional planets, most of which have not sunk as low as we have. And in order to do this, the plan that they've devised, good Lord, it involves the inner Earth. It involves a growing population of light workers on the planet coming from literally all over the universe and on occasion even beyond. It involves the realms of the angelic realm, the higher dimensional space realm. It involves the spirit realm. It involves the central sun of our galaxy, and whatever other help we might be needed to bring this about. So we've because of the uniqueness of this, things can be learned here in this experiment that cannot be learned anyplace else in the galaxy, and probably not anyplace else in the universe. So the number of the number of higher dimensional beings clamored to get here. They were willing to lower their vibration from wherever they were at down to this fourth dimensional consciousness, and give up so much of what they had gained, not give up, but add to, because they'd never experienced these lower dimensions, and here was a chance to experience the lowest of the low dimensions, and in the process to help not only a planet and 7.5 billion people on the planet, but to assist the galaxy and the entire universe. What an opportunity, what a privilege it is to be here. And when we lowered our vibration, the higher aspects of us are still intact. So we can rejoin them almost at will once we're done with this experiment.
Okay, I would just like to ask Carl, maybe you'd like to explain this. So, why are we here to begin with? I mean, what started this whole thing? How did the planet Earth come to be, and how did it come to be in this stage?
That's an excellent question, Ortrud. It happened. We reached this state because we were such an attractive planet, and we were, I'm going to say, as a human race, we were so gullible that we became a target for the dark forces. And there are dark third-dimensional planets, and some of them are very advanced technologically, but not evolved very, if at all, spiritually. And they saw this as a likely place in which they could come. They could gain control not only of the planet, but also of the human race. And they could take the resources of the planet that they wanted on their home planets, and they could lower us to a level where we would be the slaves that would do the work. And they would be, they would be in control.
Wasn't there a plan that the Earth would be used as a training school? So it was set up to be a planet of free will. And then when we came here upon the planet, we came from a level of understanding, but because we had that free will, that more and more of that free will became stronger and stronger, and we wanted more and more control, the ones that were here on the planet. Like Adam and Eve, for instance, the story of Adam and Eve, because, they ate of the apple, the poisonous apple and so on.
No, the tree of knowledge.
And I know it was tree of knowledge, but also what it did was it posted brought them down, to a level of consciousness. But it was because of our free will that the planet became the Lord itself, didn't it? Because people started living on the planet, and they started becoming a little more greedy and so on, and it got worse and worse and worse. So the energy vibration was lowered to a certain level, and then the Divine Creator decided this is far enough. We don't need to go any further than this, and that it's time to start bringing us back home.
That is a part of it. That is what made the Earth so gullible, or the people on the Earth so gullible, was they got caught up in in greed, all right, and in self-satisfaction. So focused on the self, and it was tempting to happen because we live on a planet where basically all of the information that our conscious mind gets comes from the five senses, which is all out there. And so the indwelling presence of the Creator, that aspect of us that we call our soul, was neglected. And that's what helped the dark forces come and take control. But now our souls, we are in the process of reconnecting with our souls, and this brings in a lot of joy, a lot of love, and an awful lot of light. Okay, now going out into space, we're a part of a group of planets that we rotate together in a spiral. And our zodiac is the history of that. It's a 26,000-year cycle, and in that cycle, we go through 12 different levels or frequencies of fields of energy. And some of those planets that we're in this with, and I think it's probably about 12 different solar systems, but several of them are just deeply involved and concerned about us. The Palladians, the Andromedans, the Sirians are three of the predominant ones. And they're sending us, it used to be they would send us waves or impulses of energy, but now it's virtually constant. We're getting higher frequency energy from all three of them, all right? And then the central sun in the universe is said to have sent out a wave of energy that's to hit us at a strategic time when we're ready for it. that will be the highest energy the Earth has ever received. And that may be what's called the event, or there are other possible names for it here. But the timing on that is critical, because at that point, we need to be at a certain level of consciousness in order to receive it. And we, the light workers, are the ones that are grounding this energy that's coming in from our neighboring planets into the collective human consciousness and helping to ground it into the Earth. Now, the Earth has already crossed the threshold into the lower end of the fifth dimensional level of density and consciousness. And the human race has now crossed the threshold, leaving the third dimension, and are at the low end of the fourth dimension, which is a short dimension of intense change. And intense change is usually experienced as chaos, which we are going through, and the planet is going through it, regarding earthquakes and weather changes and volcanic eruptions and storms, etc. So we're already in this. Now, the net result is, I believe before this century ends, we will be firmly embedded in the fifth dimension, not only the lower dimension, but I don't know, 1/5 perhaps of the way through the fifth dimension. And this is going to bring about tremendous changes in humanity. And it facilitates the Earth to continue its raise in density. So it's an exciting time to be here. Now, looking on a longer time scale, the experiences that we have had here in helping the planet and humanity ascend are going to be invaluable. We will have experience and gain knowledge that very few beings in the universe have. So we're going to be asked to go, when we're done here, to go and help other planets who are going through similar but probably less intense transitions into a higher fourth, fifth dimensional. And we may be on the front lines as we are here in the embodiment on those planets, or we may be consultants, helping them design and plan and helping them without being in physical form to simply ground the energy there. So it's a fantastic learning opportunity for us, and it's just to be able to experience these low dimensions. It is maybe it's not pleasant, but it's an experience that we'll never forget.
So, Carl, you were talking about, you've spoken quite often about Nibiru, and you're talking about the 20 moons around Nibiru?
Yes, thank you, Ortrun. Now, Nibiru, I have more questions about than I have answers for, but I'll share what I have. Nibiru has been referred to as a failed sun. And if it had, it never ignited. And it never seemed to reach the mass that it needed to ignite. And maybe one of the reasons is that we had a lot of impacts on the Earth that grew the Earth. And Nibiru is about 4.5 times larger than the Earth, and Nibiru has many moons, like 20 moons, and some of them are moon clusters. Now, if Nibiru had just 1 or 2 or even a half a dozen moons, and 12, 14, 15 of those moons had become collided with the planet, it may have made the planet large enough to have ignited and become a sun. And most solar systems, believe it or not, have two suns that rotate around each other, and each one with a series of planets that rotate around them. Well, instead, Nibiru has a 3,600-year elliptical cycle, and it's in the inner solar system now. And when it comes in, it plays havoc with the Earth. this time, I believe, is going to be different. Because believe it or not, planets have consciousness. Planets have free will just as we do. And it's been, some of the channelings have said that the Illuminati came from Nibiru. Not on the surface, but they lived in the interior of the planet, and that's where most planets that are inhabited are. It's where the beings live, is in the interior of the planet, because most planets are hollow, okay? So anyway, Nibiru has gone through its own ascension process over the last 3,600 years. And it is functioning at a higher level of consciousness than it when it last went through the solar system. And Nibiru, according again to channeled information, has altered its orbit. And believe it or not, planets do not have to stay in the same orbit. They have some measure of control over that. So Nibiru is not going to come as close to the Earth this time as it did last time. It's still going to be close enough that it has some effect, and we're already experiencing that effect. The Earth's daily rotation, instead of the poles being stable, both the North and South Pole each day make a figure 8, which is causing the ocean currents to change, which is upsetting our weather, which is accelerating the number of plate tectonic shifts, which we call earthquakes, and it's also increases the number of volcanic eruptions. So it's already having that effect. And the fact that the frequency of the Earth has increased so tremendously from 7.8 hertz to, on one occasion over this year, over 100 hertz. Okay? So this transition is taking place. And what effect Nibiru is going to have, I do not know. And I'm not sure that anyone knows, because it's never passed this far from the Earth in its transit through our solar system. But it is having some effect now that will become more intense. And it's an interesting place. It's unique with that many suns and the size that it is, and being a solid planet. The large, huge planets in our solar system are gases. But Nibiru is larger than any of the rock or the solid planets. So I hope that's just the information that I have, and that's all that I have. I'm anxious to get more answers as time goes on.
So, Carl, how do you think this all interacts? Because you're talking about like Sirius, and did you mention Dracos and the reptilians, all those different planets? And then there are the Nibiru is another impact with the 20 moons. So, and how about the planets in those places and all these different places of space, including how far we reach out? How are the planets also involved in assisting us in this whole process?
Well, as I mentioned, Syria is a very spiritual planet, and they send very high frequency energy. And again, Andromedan and the Palladians are playing major roles here in sending us that energy. Now, I'd like to shift, if I can, the role that the light workers have, which affects us very, very personally. This ascension could not take place without the light workers here to ground the energy, and without the light workers here to raise the consciousness of the human race. We are the frontline troops. We are the ones with feet on the ground, which allow us and is necessary if we're going to ground the energy and if we're going to have a significant impact on the people that are here, the earth beings. And the way that we can best play the role that we're here to play is to focus on our own spiritual growth, to go within, to connect with our divine soul, to connect our heart and mind together, and to connect them to our soul, so that our soul is in charge. Our soul is now expressing itself through our heart and our mind, which means our words and our actions. This will assist our physical bodies because it's raising its frequency, which allows us to ground higher energy into the earth. It also, the higher energy is more in harmony with the frequency of our fifth dimensional planet, all right, than a third dimensional body would be. So to be conscious, as conscious as you can be, what are you thinking? Because most of your feelings come out of your thoughts. And to keep your thoughts positive, to stay optimistic, and anything that is fear-inducing, anything that is negative, judgmental, critical, guilt-feeling, grief, etc., you want to absolutely minimize and, to the extent you can, eliminate it. Stay in a state of love, peace, joy. Sense the at-one-ment that you have with the planet, with everyone and everything on the planet, but especially the at-one-ment you have with your own divine soul. All right? And each day I'm suggesting that you talk to your soul and say, this is your day. You're in charge. You're in control. And then see your heart, mind merging with your soul at your soul's level of consciousness. And most light workers are now, to an extent, if not fully merged with their fifth dimensional soul, which is their Christed soul. And as you're fully merged with that, everything Jesus did, you'll be able to do. There's nothing to fear. I mean, you can make your own, you can multiply your own food, you can heal yourself, you can heal others. You're in basically 100% in control of your life. And you can greatly influence the lives of those around you. You're a tremendous uplifting force and power in your home, your neighborhood, your family, your work, and etc. So work on your own spiritual growth. That's elemental. That's basic here. All right, and that the higher we are, the higher the frequency we can ground, the more positive impact we can have on the earth and humanity.
So the particular planets that are involved with our planet, basically you're saying is Sirius and Palladius and Arcturians and the Andromedans and who else? Are there other planets?
Well,
because when I think of because even the reptilians, there's positiveness there also, even though we think of them having brought some negative energies to the planet. Is that correct?
Okay, one of the roles that I'm playing in this whole thing is helping to clear out the negative energy. And the negative energy resides very strongly on the astral plane as well as on the physical plane. And we are impacting both the astral plane and the physical plane, when I say we, the light workers, by helping to raise the frequency. And what I'm experiencing in my daily clearing, which includes an increasing number of dark lords and dark overlords and other dark beings, they are volunteering. They want to leave, okay? And this is a new experience, relatively new. They want to leave because the frequency of the earth is raised to the point that they're no longer comfortable here. They either want to go back home to the planet from which they came, or they want to move into the light because they recognize the light is being diminished so rapidly in the universe, there's going to be no place for them. So if they want to continue to maintain a soul, their soul has to raise its frequency, which means they have to change their outlook, beliefs, and behavior. And so they're asking for help. All right, and our grounding this higher energy is helping to bring that about. So that is another way in which we're helping to raise, I'm going to say, the frequency of the galaxy and even the universe, because we're helping to clean out the dark by creating the desire within them.
Before we open it up to any comments or questions, I have one other question, and this is something I always sort of wrestle with, because you talk about the Illuminati, and when you think of, on one hand, Illuminati, you think of the light, because illumination. But then on the other hand, when you speak of Illuminati, there's the darkness. So, and I know that in the, like the Persian area and so on, some of the great ones, some of the great masters, they're of the Illuminati. So explain that to me a little bit. Is it because we all have positive, negative from all these planets, or how does that fit in?
My understanding is that there were a small segment of the Illuminati who are very, very evolved beings that fell. They dropped their vibration.
Similar to the angels.
Yes, like fallen angels. Yeah, that's a good analogy there. So the ones that are negatively impacting the earth are the negative Illuminati. All right? And you can imagine that the positive Illuminati are now working overtime to try to reform them. And when they go back home, if they go back home, they're going to be raised, they're going to go through quite a transmutation. And there is a light school that has been established for those fallen light beings, where they can be retrained and go back into their light beingness and get rid of their darkness. Now, does anybody else have any comments or any questions here that you might want to address or share?
I think that everybody is just listening really intently to what you two are discussing this morning. There aren't any questions in the chat room, just people listening in very closely.
Well, the one thing that I hope they gather from this is an absolutely immense operation. It involves so much. You know, I don't know. I'm sure there have been other cases where the spirit realm, the angelic realm, the higher dimensional space realm got together on a cooperative effort. But this one, because it spans the entire galaxy and impacts the entire universe, I don't know if it's unprecedented or not, but it's highly, highly unusual. And to have the privilege and the responsibility that goes with that privilege of being a part of this and being able to learn from it and developing our talents and abilities to such an extent that there's going to be a universal demand for us. All right? Wow. This is, we would call it like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so please do everything you can to make the most of it.
How long do you think the ascension process has been going on, the Earth ascension process?
I think that it probably initiated back when Jesus walked the earth.
Do you think it's only been that short of a period of time?
I think the planning's been going on much longer than that. Okay, but in terms of the implementation, I think Jesus chose the earth to take his seventh and final initiation. And I'm going to use his other name, Christ Michael, who is the creator of our universe, took his seventh and final initiation here on planet Earth as Jesus, because he wanted to implant a foundation upon which the ascension could be built. And the foundation is one of love. And he modeled how to merge with your soul and the effect that that can have, the power that and abilities that can be that can give you. And that was the reason he didn't come here to die for human sins. For goodness sakes, we have the divine within us. He came here to help us remember who we were, which is we are created in the image and likeness of God. We are here to be gods on the surface of the planet. So he came here to empower us to do what it is now being done. And I think that was the real beginning of action actually being taken on the planet itself.
Well, I'm going to go to the other extreme because this is raising questions for me also. Is that so? Okay, so the ascension process, you're saying is when Jesus, I believe it was going on before that, but that Jesus was just another level of that expression of bringing it even higher and higher. But with that being said, when did this fall start? So, and it came to the bottom where that decision was made. How long ago do you think that was? How many? Is it thousands of years or billions of years? Or what do you think about that?
I have no idea.
Okay. It's been a long, long time because let's face it, we've had, all of us, or probably the majority of us, have had many, many lifetimes here upon the planet. And some of them starting out very innocently, when we came out for the very first time from the Pleiades or from Sirius and so on, and because we were called down here to be part of this planet and to experiment here on this planet. And so at first, who knows how long ago that was, there was that we were innocents on one hand, mostly, but yet there was that impact, of course, of the negative forces because that was part of the plan here, was to see, positive and negative, to experience those types of energies. But that's been going on for who knows how many years. And so we've spent many, many lifetimes here upon the planet anyways. Many of us have. And we chose for that to be our pathway. That's what we decided this is what we're going to do, and we're going to assist with it until it is all accomplished. Is that correct? So even though you may not be here for the ascension to show itself in the physical plane, you will certainly be with the planet when this occurs, right, Charles?
Okay, I agree with what Ortrand said. And there's confusion here because we work with linear time. Higher dimensions do not. They work with now time. Everything is happening at the same time. Okay? But she is right. The call went out for people to come to the planet tens and maybe even, 10 or 100,000 years ago. And that's when we began lowering our vibration so that we could be here at this very critical time. And that couldn't be our first lifetime here because we needed many lifetimes to adjust to the energies, to gain wisdom, understanding, etc., so that we could be effective now. So.
Well, and then also the planet has to be somewhat of a uplifted state because we're having now these crystal and indigo children come in because the indigos are around longer than the crystals, but the crystals kept trying to come in and they couldn't tolerate the vibrations, so they would leave. But we're seeing more and more of those crystal children and beings coming in, and they're able to function, or at least functioning better. Some of them have their, situations because they're still adjusting here because this is more of except the vibration is different, but they're also coming here to uplift and help us herald in this, I'm going to say, this space where we are reunited in a sense because we're never separated, but yet there's that being reunited in such a sense that we have finally dropped many of these things that were meant to be dropped, which is part of this ascension process, right, Carol? Or what do you think about that?
I think that the fact that the vast majority, and I'm going to say roughly 95% of the children being born are coming in, are descended beings carrying crystal indigo energy, carrying advanced DNA, is concrete proof that we're going to succeed in this ascension process. And the ones that are in control of like the media, for example, they're still the dark people, and the dark are still in control of basically the governments and the economies. But as more and more of these descended light workers assume positions of power and control, that's going to shift. And the 20 years ago, it was only 12 to 15% of the ones being born then were carrying this crystal indigo energy. And in order to be in positions of power, you're going to need to be roughly close to your middle age. So, but it is happening, and it's never happening as fast as we would like. But if it happened any faster, we would have more ascension symptoms. So be grateful it's not happening faster.
Sir, any other thoughts or any questions? I think we're getting close to the end of the show. So is there any other thought or comment that anyone might have?
Kelly Spencer commented, this is all incredible information, and it is a lot to absorb. I don't have any questions at this time. That'll come around 3 a.m., I'm sure. But I am intrigued.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Exactly. She wraps that up with, but I am intrigued and very grateful for the knowledge shared by Carl and or Troon.
Well, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate that, and we're sharing what we know, and there's so much more to know.
So, Carl and or Troon,
thank you for being courageous enough to be here and do what it is you're doing. Exactly. So, thank you for your help.
For those of your listeners they're not in the chat room, but they're out there listening all around Grandmother Earth, how do people learn more about the both of you? Where do they get your books?
Well, you can look at our website, and our website is OurSpiritualAscension.com. Spelled Our Spiritual Ascension, ASCENSION.com. And on our website, we have numerous things. We've got our books. We've got, of course, the different services that we offer. We have many, many free recordings of shows that we've done over the last 7 years. So those are all things that are available to you if you come onto our site and just look around and see if there's something that might be meaningful to you. We'd love to have you do that. We would appreciate it, too. So that's how they can get a hold of us.
Fantastic.
So anyhow, I think it's been an interesting show. It's a lot to be said. This has taken a long time to get here. It will not take as long to get back to where we're supposed to be, I don't believe. I think it'll be much shorter because all of us are a little bit more knowledgeable, whether we are aware of it or not. It's in our hearts and our minds. So I think that the process, we may not be here on this earth plane when this all resolves itself and it's to the point where it's meant to be, but we will be there to see it happen. And then stop and think about, how a droplet of water, how it affects all that there is basically, and that's really what's happening here on the planet. Whatever happens here will also ripple out and affect not only our universe, but all that there is, all of creation. So I just want to leave you with that.
That's beautiful. Thank you both for another wonderful, wonderful podcast.
Thank you so much. It's our privilege to be with you.
Yes, and blessings to all of you.
Bye-bye now.